Well, it's been a very, very interesting morning this morning for Rachel Reeves. She's had a series of car crash interviews, and as always here on British Stand, we are going to be going through them and watching them. The main talking point that I'm really getting from this really is that, of course, we are going to be seeing an increasing of VAT. In all of these interviews, this was the sort of main subject, essentially from the news host asking Rachel Reeves, but of course she never ruled it out. And in one interview in particular, one of the news hosts actually does start to lose the plot with Rachel Reeves and the way that she goes about her business. Again, we've also got a bit with regard to reform. We've seen Labour, or Reform are currently in Labour's head. Keir Starmer can't stop talking about Nigel Farage, and that's now going into Rachel Reeves, where she's branding in a true left-wing way of doing things as reform are now racist, but says that people that support reform aren't racist, but said that the policies that they impose are racist. She hasn't got a clue. Let's have a watch of this first one, guys, with regard to VAT. First, hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. Have a watch of this.
Are you going to, can you rule out increasing VAT? It's a yes or no?
What I'm saying to you
no,
is
I've
that
asked the question, can you rule out increasing VAT?
A reason.
I know, but can you rule it out?
The manifesto stands, and it stands for a reason. Look, I'm not going to, on this programme, 2 months ahead of the budget, to go through it line by line.
No, I've only asked you about one thing and one line.
Yes, but we made that commitment in the manifesto. We made it for a reason, and those commitments stand. Those commitments remain our commitments for this budget and for this Parliament. The manifesto stands, Susanna.
OK, so sorry, I just want to translate this. You will not increase VAT in the budget.
The manifesto that we stood on made those commitments around VAT, income tax and national insurance, and we did that for a good reason, and that reason continues to exist. So that's why we made that commitment, and that manifesto commitment stands.
I don't understand, sorry, Chancellor, with respect, I don't understand why it's such a hard question to simply answer yes or no to. Nobody's asking you for the reason why you put it in the manifesto. Yes. You put it in a manifesto because you wanted to win an election. What people want to know is, are you going to raise VAT? It's a simple yes or no answer.
Yeah. No, the problem is, Susanna, is that as soon as you answer one question, you'll move on to the next one. We made a manifesto commitment about those 3 specific taxes, and that manifesto commitment stands. And it is really important for me that at the end of this Parliament, and indeed after the budget, that working people feel better off. And at the budget last year, and I'd say, judge me on my record, because at the budget last year, we had to fill a black hole in the public finances. I wanted to put more money into the NHS. Lots of people said, oh, you're not going to be able to stick with your manifesto commitments. And we did. I did stick to those manifesto commitments. It meant difficult decisions elsewhere. But in our budget last year, in my first budget as Chancellor, we stuck with those commitments. And what I said before that is those manifesto commitments stand. They still stand, and they stand now.
So VAT is going to be increased then. Look, this theme carries on throughout her series of car crash interviews. There was a lot this morning. She was on all the platforms. Let's have a watch this one.
Can you rule out the idea that there will be a VAT rise, Chancellor?
Well, you'll know we made those commitments in our manifesto, and those manifesto commitments stand. And let me explain why those manifesto commitments stand. So something stands
until it falls, as my colleague says. Can you rule it out?
Well, let me just tell you why we made those commitments and why they're so important to me, Nick. We made those commitments because in the last Parliament, it was the worst Parliament on record for living standards, and working people bore the brunt of that economic mismanagement. And so we made those commitments not to increase the key taxes that working people pay.
All right.
No, absolutely.
So, but just can you rule out a VAT?
And there is more to do.
Okay, indeed.
Nick.
Can you rule out a VAT rise, Chancellor?
Well, I've already said, Nick, that we stand by those commitments.
So yeah, she's pretty freaking mental. Let's put it that way, literally. And then in this interview, she paints a very different picture of the country than the one we are currently experiencing through BBC Breakfast. She just chats absolute bollocks.
Well, what I would say is I've been Chancellor now for 451 days, and there's been difficult days. Some of them have been very public, but I wouldn't swap them for any of the 5,000 days that I spent in opposition before that, because every one of those 451 days has been an opportunity to change our country for the better. Whether it is the youth guarantee to help young people to get into work, those libraries in primary schools to ensure that all children get a good start in life, free breakfast clubs, extending free school meals, reducing NHS waiting lists by 200,000, increasing the national living wage and the national minimum wage, building more homes so that first-time buyers and families can have a stake in the housing market. I'm really proud of all these things. Has it been easy? No. I didn't go into this thinking it was going to be easy. I'm really proud of what we've done, but I'm the first to admit there's more to do. We're 15 months into this government, and as the first Labour Chancellor in 14 years and the first female Chancellor in 800 years, I am genuinely loving this job and the chance to serve, because that's what I came into this for, just the chance to serve and make our country a bit better off.
She's like making out she just like won the World Cup and she's collecting her accolades and stuff like that. She's fucking destroying the economy in real time, and she's complicit in it. She's like sat there like talking about how great she's done. She's done a fucking bad job. I love how she's just sitting there like literally flexing on what she's done. She's done nothing. The place is in turmoil, and she's like sat there like, I wouldn't change any day that is there with the success that we've had. Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. More to the point, she doesn't understand what reform is and reform's policy. Now, this one's quite interesting to watch it because actually Nick Ferrari, of all people, stands up for reform supporters and blasts Rachel Reeves as she brands the party as just racist. Have a watch.
How can you support a racist policy and not be racist?
I think it is a racist policy, and let me tell you why.
You know, because I understand that, but how can it doesn't matter whether I do, but how could one support a racist policy and not be racist?
People support the Reform Party for all sorts of reasons.
No, this policy, Chancellor, these policies as regards deportations. If you support a racist, I cannot see if you support a racist policy how you're not racist yourself. No.
Because people support the Reform Party for all sorts of different reasons, often not even knowing the detail of this the policies. But this policy is a racist policy, and you'll have lots of listeners who might be at work today sitting next to somebody who wasn't born in this country. Their next door neighbour might not have been born in this country. They might be married to somebody who wasn't born in this country. And what Nigel Farage and the Reform Party are saying is that they would deport those people.
Yes, no, I understand. But you can support that policy but not be racist yourself. I just want to clarify that.
Well, do people support that policy? I'm not sure many people do. Lots of people support the Reform Party, but we have to push them on their policies. Okay. And I think there are lots of people who back reform and who would be horrified by the thought that people who came to this country legally, who are working and contributing, would be deported from this country.
Okay. One absolute nightmare. I mean, that was like all of the interviews today. I'm sure there's going to be more that comes out of it, but this is just this morning, just going on a rampage and talking absolute nonsense. But I think one thing that you can see from this is, of course, that a VAT increase is going to be coming very, very imminently during the autumn budget. And then you're also going to see more with regard to them fighting against reform. They really are in their head. They're going to try and make them out to be racist and all these kind of things, and then go on to do other bits and pieces. But yeah, my goodness me, she is an absolute disaster, and broke the record for a series of car crash interviews for today. Guys, I can't get into the chat. I've got to go quickly, but I'll be back with more live streams later on today, and I'll catch up with you all later. I've got a very important commitment to get onto imminently. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll be back later. And as I said, I promise